Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams. Rams coming off that loss last week at the New Orleans Saints. They played a pretty good game against the Seahawks a couple weeks ago. This is one of the ones I predicted pretty well. Rams at Seahawks.
Right, the shootout.
I said, yeah, it's going to be a shootout. Russell Wilson's going to, keep a team that's probably overmatched in this game. This one should be a little bit more lopsided being in Los Angeles. What are you seeing from this one, Sam?
Yeah, the interesting thing about this game to me is that last time they actually kept Aaron Donald pretty quiet.
Right.
We were saying that was a monster mismatch going into that game. DJ Fluker had the game of his life somehow and kept him relatively quiet as part of that offensive line. But let me just read you Aaron Donald's career statistics when playing the Seattle Seahawks. This is
not suitable for work.
We're now talking 9 games in the regular season between the two. Donald's PFF grade for those 9 games is 94.4, which is pretty absurd. 9 games, 8 sacks, 19 hits, 34 hurries, and 14 more blocks defeated that didn't have a chance to become pressure before the ball came out. His win percentage, just in terms of rushing the passer, is 25%.
Wow.
Like, that is completely unheard of. It's ridiculous. Those numbers are mind-bending. But, like we say, they did a pretty good job of slowing him down the last time. So, was that a complete and total freak? Is this Seahawks offensive line that much better this year? Or is normal service to be resumed and Aaron Donald wrecks them again?
I think both. I think Seattle's offensive line's better. DJ Fluker has a 75.1 pass block rate. That's solid. That's above average. That's solid. He's actually struggled in the run game. I know he's known for the opposite. Our Seattle run blocking grades are not strong. So they're running the ball pretty well the last few weeks, despite the offensive line and despite what people might tell you. It's a lot of Chris Carson doing a lot of work after contact. But I would expect, J.R. Sweezy also has an above-average pass block grade. I still think Aaron Donald has the advantage over those two guys.
Well, he definitely does.
Well, he has the advantage over everybody.
Yeah.
I think I said this on the Monday pod, though. Russell Wilson, we've charged him with 7 sacks this year out of 18 that have been assigned to the Seahawks. This isn't total number of sacks. This is sacks that we've assigned to a player or multiple players on a play. Who's at fault? 7 for Russell Wilson, 18 total for the Seahawks. All of which came, not all of which came from the offensive line. We've got a tight end in there, a couple of running backs. So the offensive line overall has certainly improved. Russell Wilson's pressure rate is 36% this year, by far the lowest of his career.
Yeah, and the Seahawks offensive line, the pressure rate that they are allowing has completely transformed. They've been 24th or worse for the last 4 straight years. They're 6th now.
Yeah.
Like, it's a completely different unit in terms of statistically. It is grading a lot better as well, not as much as the stats would say, but it is a different unit than it's been in the past.
I'm just very impressed with what Seattle has done with, before the season, where's their personnel? Where's their roster? Right. It's in the 20s in the NFL, right? If you put Russell Wilson aside, it's in the 20s. But now you've got guys like David Moore at receiver. You mentioned Chris Carson and what he's doing. A whole defensive overhaul. Bradley McDougald is one of the top-graded safeties. Just very impressed with Seattle. I know they just lost last week to the Chargers. If they lose again, their playoff hopes dwindling week by week. It's going to be a challenge. But I'm still impressed with what Seattle has done and how competitive they've been this season.
Yeah, we kind of predicted that this team, generally this season, would really fall off and may not be in contention at all. And though they are losing these games against very good teams, they're at least competitive, and at the very minimum, they're still kind of in the hunt a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
obviously,
absolutely.
Their division makes it a wild card hunt only, but still, they're definitely closer to contending than we thought they were heading into this year.
And then with the Rams, Jared Goff, currently number 3 in PFF quarterback grades. I just tweeted he actually has the highest percentage. We track reads, general reads, looks. You start at one side of the field, work to another side of the field. He's number 1, highest percentage of working to another side of the field, a second or third read in theory. It's not, read's not the best word, but look is. But it just shows a guy that's surveying the field. That was one of the traits that we saw at Cal that we really liked. So as much as Goff gets called this system quarterback and everything, let's bring back the comparison. Let's also bring back the fact that 2 things can also be true at the same time, Sam. Sean McVay
It's crazy.
Can be a very good play caller and can be a guy that elevates his players around him. Jared Goff can also be a very good quarterback that is working well in that system and making Sean McVay look good as well. They're both very good this season, where last year the argument was much cleaner for, wow, McVay's really elevating Goff. Yeah. This year, both of them are working together pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, typically when you're putting up record-breaking kinds of numbers, more than one thing is going into that.
Oh, absolutely. So the receivers are all looking good for the Rams, and of course, MVP candidate Todd Gurley. I hate, to beat a dead horse, but it seems to be our. We just have to remind people on multiple channels that Todd Gurley is not the most valuable player in the NFL this year, or close to it.
All of the most valuable players in the NFL are quarterbacks.
Yeah,
the end.
And then other guys that affect the pass game more than running backs do.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to be a pretty good game. Aaron Donald's season. Any other ways to put this thing in perspective? I think we have to continue to repeat that the guy that has been the number one player in the NFL the last few years is having a career season.
Yeah, his numbers are insane. I mean, he's reaching that J.J. Watt level of every number you look at is just ridiculous. Like when J.J. Watt was at the peak of his powers and he was coming off those sort of 3 seasons of back-to-back-to-back ridiculous numbers, like every number we started to look at, stuff that we don't have just readily available, we start diving into, just checking out stats. Every number we looked at was more absurd than the last one. Anything you choose to dive into, J.J. Watt was looking like an absolute monster, head and shoulders above anybody else. Donald is reaching that same level where just any number you start checking, he's off on his own. If you imagine these graphs that the analytics guys pull out or that you see on Twitter every now and again of, clusters of people and then there's an outlier over here. Donald is always the outlier right now.
Yeah, so unbelievable season. Here's one. He has as many hurries and hits. He has more hurries and hits than anyone else has all total pressures, sacks, hurries, and hits. So he's got 51 times he's either hurried or hit the quarterback. Next, and then Fletcher Cox has 49 total pressures, so that includes his sacks.
Yeah.
That's our Aaron Donald nugget of the game of the week. What do we have for a winner in this one, Sam? We all taking the Rams?
Yeah, this was a weird week for picks. We've almost all we're almost all unanimous across every single game. It's weird. There are very few dissenting voices in the PFF picks this week.